Tate, I think we're almost at the end of this conversation. So there's maybe just a couple of questions that I have left, and I'm just going to try and club them into one. So, you've had, a long career now on the operations, X customer X revenue growth, mostly looking at digital brands, e-commerce, all of this throughout your career. In general, right, I think it's a field that a lot of people are doing more and more work in. People are more and more interested. More and more of the brands and anything customer facing, anything retail is moving into this sort of space. So it's an open-ended question. Is there anything that you reflect on that really contributed to your journey, right? Your ways of working, principles that you've built over the last several years at these organizations that you would ask people here in this call to think about and maybe take away as they look at building their careers.
Yeah. No, see, operations, it's actually a generalist role, right? It's like anything which you can't logically bucket into something else gets bucketed into operations, which is happening with me right now, right? Like this last week, I was having a conversation with the CEO where he's like, so actually, I think you can take care of this as well. I'm like, why? But because it generally didn't have a home anywhere else, and he's like, hey, you're the CEO, so why don't you do it, right? So that tends to happen with operations a fair bit. So I would say, I think that is something which you need to develop, right? Because I think that the definition of operations will change from organization to organization. So being flexible and getting a wide variety of experiences is important. Doing different roles within the same organization is also important. I'm not suggesting that we jump job from job to get those new experiences, but shifting your perspective within the organization also gives you that flexibility. To me, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning, right? You can choose certain phases in your life where you're like, something else is more important, so I'm going to step off the accelerator on this, and that's perfectly all right, and I've done that a few times. But if you're on that path and you've decided that this is my learning phase and I want to see what I can do next, being comfortable is not your friend, right? You need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and learn more. um, the other thing with operations in specific, right, is it requires a fair amount of patience. There isn't something, a category management, revenue side, which also I have done. Especially in the digital space, it is immediate, right? There are a bunch of things which you can do, which from tomorrow will help you change something. But operations isn't like that. Fundamental true ops improvements take time, and that patience should definitely be there. And what people are looking for and how to excel in an operations role, right, is not by delivering on what is expected of you on a daily basis, but actually putting in those ideas and that effort to doing something which changes the baseline in 6 months, right? um, am I is my warehouse operating today at capacity is one question, right? But 6 months from now, can I actually fundamentally change the productivity of the employees in the warehouse is a different question. And growing in operations is actually continuously thinking about what that is and how you have moved that baseline is not delivering your daily targets. The other thing is, I think, talking to a lot of people. I think I am not much of a reader, so I have not read a lot of books on these kind of subjects. But I have spoken to a lot of people who have done this before, who are probably within the organization, outside the organization. I just love having exploratory chats to figure out what happens. Experimentation, which I already spoke about, try and find a few things and hypotheses which you can keep testing, which will also help you figure out what those needle movers are, right? And the last one is actually staying curious. I think it's very important when you see something is happening to a metric, when you're seeing something which is different from before, whether it is for a day, whether it is for a week, spending that extra 15 minutes to dig into what happened will really open up avenues and perspectives, right? I think that curiosity, especially in the operation space, is very, very important to say, why did something happen? Is there a learning I can get out of it? Which you'll then just pocket away, right? You may not be able to use it, but those insights are what you build over time. And once you've done it for about 8 to 10 months, you'll be like, oh, these things are connecting, right? That curiosity helps you create that understanding and then connect dots, which will help you make things better.
No, this was absolutely awesome. I think we are all out of time, but thank you so much for this. I hope that everybody who's been on this call, irrespective of whether they're practicing or interested in ops, I think from this session you've clearly taken away that ops matters, which has been the objective of all of these series of speaker sessions that we've been doing. Thank you everyone for joining us, for taking out the time on a Saturday morning. And Sulakshana, this was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for spending the time and really offering a masterclass on how some of these things are done. And I think everyone here on this call is a lot wiser than they were before they attended it. I for sure am. And it was brilliant to have you. Thank you so much once again.
I'm very glad to, very glad that you invited me. Happy to have done this. And I think interesting questions as well, right? And I think this group is staying curious. So I would say just continue that.